You are alone in the dark. No machines beeping, no bright lights, just your own breathing and the weight of what is about to happen to your body. For most of human history, this was not a hospital moment. It was a survival moment. For roughly 200,000 years, giving birth was one of the most dangerous things a human being could do. Not because your ancestors were careless, because your species made a strange evolutionary trade, and childbirth has been paying the price ever since. Let's start with your skeleton. Your pelvis is narrower than it should be, for one simple reason. You walk upright. Bipedalism, moving on two legs instead of four, reshaped the human hip into a tight, compact ring of bone built for balance and efficient walking. But your brain did not get the memo. Human babies are born with skulls large enough to house a brain that will keep growing rapidly after birth. So you have a narrow passage built for walking and a wide head built for thinking. Those two things do not agree. Scientists call this the obstetrical dilemma. The term was proposed by anthropologist Sherwood Washburn in the 1960s, and it describes exactly this tension: a body optimized for walking upright, forced to deliver an oversized head through an undersized opening. Anthropologist Karen Rosenberg spent years studying ancient and modern human pelvises to understand how this trade-off actually plays out during birth. Her research showed something unsettling. In most mammals, a baby simply drops out head first, facing forward. In humans, because of the twisted, narrow shape of the birth canal, the baby usually has to rotate as it descends, and it is typically born facing away from the mother, not toward her. Think about what that means. You cannot easily reach down and guide your own baby out. You cannot see its face as it emerges. You cannot clear its mouth or lift it up the way almost every other mammal on Earth can. So how did anyone survive this? The answer is other people. Anthropologist Wenda Trevathan built an entire body of research around one core idea. Human childbirth became social because it had to. She argued that the physical difficulty of human birth likely pushed early humans toward assisted delivery long before recorded history. Women helping women, long before anything resembling modern medicine existed. This is one of the reasons some researchers believe midwifery is not a modern invention. It may be almost as old as humanity itself. Let's reconstruct a scene. You are a woman in a small foraging band, maybe 20 or 30 people total, somewhere in the grasslands of Pleistocene Africa. Labor begins. You do not go to a private room. You go to the women. Your mother, your sisters, other women who have already survived this exact ordeal, gather around you. One holds your back. One murmurs instructions. One waits with her hands ready for the moment. Your baby turns the wrong way, facing the earth instead of the sky. There is a fire nearby. There is water, if the group is lucky enough to be near a source. There are herbs, chosen by generations of trial and painful error, some of which might ease pain, some of which might do almost nothing at all. And there is fear, real fear, because everyone present knows exactly how this can go wrong. Skeletal evidence from sites across the archaeological record backs this up in a grim way. Researchers studying ancient remains have repeatedly found young women buried alongside infants, evidence consistent with death during or shortly after childbirth. Before modern obstetric care, maternal death was not rare. It was one of the leading causes of death for women of reproductive age, across nearly every known ancient and pre-industrial society. Anthropologist Marjorie Shostak spent years living among the Jew, Hoanzi people of the Kalahari, a modern hunter-gatherer society whose way of life offers researchers a living window into practices that likely stretch back tens of thousands of years. In her landmark ethnography, she documented something that surprises most people today. Some Jew, Hoanzi women gave birth completely alone, walking a short distance from camp, delivering the baby by themselves in the bush, and returning with the newborn in their arms. Not because help wasn't valued, because in a highly mobile foraging life, a woman's own experience, calm, and physical strength during an uncomplicated birth were sometimes trusted more than intervention. So the truth sits somewhere between two extremes. Not always a crowded, hands-on delivery. Not always solitary either. Human childbirth, across deep time, was flexible, shaped by terrain, by community size, by how dangerous the moment felt, and by how much support was actually available. Now here is the counterintuitive twist. You might assume that as humans got smarter, birth got easier. It didn't. In some ways, it got harder. As human brains grew larger over evolutionary time, and as bipedal walking locked in a narrower pelvis, the difficulty of birth increased rather than decreased. Humans are, by many measures, the mammal with one of the most difficult births relative to body size on the planet. Elephants, whose babies are enormous, still give birth with far fewer complications than humans do, proportionally speaking, because their anatomy never faced this same tug-of-war between walking and thinking. In other words, One of the very traits that made your species successful, a massive brain, is also the trait that made bringing that brain into the world so dangerous. Intelligence and vulnerability arrived as a package deal. That is not a design flaw your ancestors could fix. It is a cost they simply had to survive, generation after generation, with nothing but each other. Which brings us to now. Today, in most of the world, childbirth happens in a hospital, with monitors, surgical backup, and pain relief your ancient ancestors could never have imagined. Maternal mortality has dropped dramatically compared to almost any point in the deep past. That drop is one of the genuine triumphs of modern medicine. But something else has quietly disappeared along the way. The circle of women, the fire, the murmured instructions passed down through direct, physical experience rather than a textbook. Many researchers who study birth today, including those building on Trevathan's original ideas, argue that humans are what they call an obligate midwifery species, meaning our anatomy essentially requires assistance during birth far more than most other primates do. Even now, with all the technology available, studies continue to show that emotional support and companionship during labor measurably improve outcomes and reduce complications. Your body, it turns out, has not forgotten what it evolved to expect. So, the next time you see a birth story online, an epidural, a hospital room, a partner filming from the corner, remember what that scene actually descends from. Not weakness, not fragility. A 4 million-year evolutionary negotiation between walking on two legs and carrying an enormous brain solved imperfectly by human beings simply refusing to let each other go through it alone. You are alone in the dark, you might think, at the start of any hard and frightening moment in your life. But for nearly all of human history, the truth was the opposite. When it mattered most, you were never alone at all.